If you are struggling with your moods and depression and seasonal affective disorder, this is very common. But don't worry, I've got 5 great tips how to combat seasonal affective disorder. And this is caused usually by the decrease in our light cycles. So we have less sunshine and less light hours during the day. We have more darkness. Now we don't have that sunlight to make our natural vitamin D. Everybody's inside because of that cold, dark weather. And the other thing that's interesting is that we actually secrete more melatonin in the winter time. So really we should be sleeping for longer periods of time, but with our stress levels and our busy schedules, often we're not getting the sleep that we need, and this can make the SAD even worse. But here are my 5 tips that are really going to help you. Okay, so let's start with tip number 1, which is morning sunlight exposure. So you want to see that sun in your eyes and on your skin, especially first thing in the morning. This does a lot to help to actually make your melatonin for later in the day so you do get that restful night's sleep, but also that morning sunlight is very uplifting to your other hormones. So this is really, really important. It's one of the things that I like to do even in the dark, cold Canadian winters is sit on my front porch with my nice hot tea and without my shoes or slippers on so that I'm grounded. Really important to see that early morning sunlight. Tip number 2 is to get cold. Yes, that cold exposure is really going to do a lot for your vagus nerve. And when you're not feeling well, if you're anxious, you've got depression, dunking your head in some cold ice water is something that I've shared in other videos, which is fantastic to help to reset your nervous system. The other great thing about cold exposure is that it helps your leptin signaling, and this has a lot to do with your overall metabolism and your nervous system's ability to read your environment and what's going on. So that cold exposure can really do a lot for your seasonal affective disorder. Okay, tip number 3 is vitamin D. So if you're, of course, not getting natural sunlight exposure, you may be vitamin D deficient. So increasing the foods that have some vitamin D, things like mushrooms, will naturally give you some vitamin D. You're not going to get a lot, though. A lot of people, though, do need to supplement in the winter time with that vitamin D, and make sure it's always a vitamin D3, and make sure there's no fillers, of course, in that vitamin D3 supplement. And getting the right amount is important as well, so make sure that you're having your blood work checked to see where your levels are at of your vitamin D, and then you can take the right dosage as according to where your blood levels are at. Okay, tip number 4 is to balance your minerals. So your minerals are really important in terms of being able to function optimally for your cellular function, to make sure that your mitochondria, which are your energy producing organelles in the body, are working optimally to give you the energy that you need. So things like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium are really important that you're optimizing these levels. And this is one of the reasons that I love seafood, because seafood naturally will give you a lot of these minerals, nuts and seeds as well. Great for seasonal affective disorder. And tip number 5 is you got to get zen. So meditation is really important. Deep breathing exercises, really important to, again, reset the nervous system in a healthy way, will really help you to combat that seasonal affective disorder. One of the things that I like to do in terms of meditation is to imagine when I close my eyes and I'm doing my deep breathing that I'm on a hot, sunny beach. And it's interesting because your brain often doesn't know the difference between actually being there and what you perceive as being your natural environment. So do those wonderful meditations. Whatever works for you is going to really help with your seasonal affective disorder. For more information on a great remedy for anxiety, please check out my video, The #1 Best Remedy for Anxiety. I'll see you there.